Hi, welcome to another episode of Cancer Tamer. I'm your host, Dr. Charley Ferrer, and with me is
Debra Santulli-Barone.
Hi. So we have a wonderful show for you today. Debra's going to give you a lot of information about all these wonderful vital facts that we have been discovering. Before we do that, I wanted to talk a little bit about our Celebrate Life program. Here at Cancer Tamer Foundation, we have a program which is called Celebrate Life, where we try to take individuals out for a fun time to remind you that life isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. And so this past weekend, we were able to take a group of women to Aneld Studios out in Cranford, New Jersey, and make these amazing beads. So I just wanted to show you a couple of them. And so you were able to make these little baby beads. This is my attempt at making a circle.
But tell me how you did this exactly.
So we were playing with fire. So we had fire and propane and oxygen, and she was teaching us about how to make a circle and how to melt the fire or melt the glass in order to make these amazing little beads. I have a totally new respect for individuals that make these beads. It was so difficult. If you can see any of these beads here, you can see my attempt at making a circle. It was not quite a circle.
But the colors are gorgeous.
The colors were amazing.
Amazing colors. If you can see, it's really beautiful. I like the yellow.
Thank you.
Cobalt blue.
Yeah. And this was me just playing with like different little colors of trying to get like black and purple and
rustic and red.
Yeah, and everything. And it just turned into, and imagine it as a circle. but I couldn't get the circle. And so it was that piece of, we just had fun exploring and playing with colors and doing whatever. Mm-hmm. And then we actually had a falcon and a bird who crashed through the window, or not through the window, but against the window. And it was just such a wonderful experience, because who knew we were going to be playing with glass, and all of a sudden, I'm holding on to this falcon that got knocked out, and I'm like putting a little blanket over him, and just soothing him, telling him, "You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Don't attack me, but you're going to be okay."
You're lucky it didn't attack you.
And it was an amazing experience. So if you want to see some of the pictures of that event, please turn around and go to our website and cancertamer.org. Look up where it says Celebrate Life Events, and you'll see the overview and all the pictures of all the amazing glass works that we did. And you'll even see a picture of the falcon. He was like, about as long as my arm, and just these beautiful wings, and I never knew he could be so soft.
Yeah, and gentle.
He was just amazingly soft.
It didn't attack you. So I had another question about this. So you're in the facility. You brought some women with you, and you got a discounted rate on that, which is great because of Cancer Tamer. And so it's actually, how do you blow glass? What do they use?
Well, we weren't blowing glass in this instance. We were actually melting the glass.
Oh, all right.
So they have like a propane, we use a propane tank, and then we use oxygen mixing in with the propane and setting it on fire. And then so you have this burner in front of you, and then you're using both your hands. You're using one to hold the mandle where you're going to put your glass on, and then you have the glass that you're just melting around the mandle. So you have this big long metal stick that is going to hold your bead, and then you just melt the glass.
But is the glass sand? That's what I hear.
No, the glass is like a big long tube like this of just glass. And then what you're doing with the fire is that you're holding the glass to the fire, and you're melting the glass. And then you're going around the mandle in front of the fire. So you have this fire coming this way, and your hands are out here, and you're just playing with the glass, how you want it, where you want it. Then you're picking up different colors glasses. You know, they show you all these different techniques on how to, you know, while you're melting the glass and making the designs inside the glass. And what I loved about Anel's studio was that the teacher and the owner were just so wonderful. They just like, you know, hey, you're doing great, even though my stuff looked like crap. They were like, you know, that's wonderful. You're being creative. You know, so they were so encouraging. And so it was such an empowering experience because we're like, wow, I'm making this. This is so cool. This is so cool. And I made like 20.
Yeah, you did.
20 little beads, and we got to play with different stuff. We ended up going afterwards. We went out for Cuban meal. There was a restaurant right next door that had Cuban food, and we just, oh my God, it was so delicious.
Oh, that's great.
And then what we loved too about that Cranford area was that it was so funny because everybody in the group started looking at all the stores that were around the studio, the Anel studio. And we're like, okay, well, we can have a class over there to do cooking, and over here is pottery, and over there is dancing, and, you know, so there were so many other things, which, you know, what we try to do with the Celebrate Life program is not only have a big adventure like we did last year where we did the whitewater rafting, but also to have little mini adventures that are fun to do glass, that are fun to go dancing. You know, I want to go learn the tango. So we open it up to you, our audience and our participants and our members, to say, hey, you know, Dr. Charley, Debra, we want to go and do this. You know, we want to go whitewater rafting. We want to go in a hot air balloon. We want to go race car driving. We want to...
The hot air balloon is her right there. I'll take the pictures from down below.
So all these different things that we want to do, and all the things that you are saying that you want to do. So when you have ideas, just send those ideas to us at info@cancertamer.org, and this way we can turn around and start looking at it. And we try to do things for free because we get sponsors, but when we can't, you know, we get discounts.
You know, and that's fine too. It's just to have some fun. And what's the lady's name that runs this? Anel?
Anel Studios was actually Trisha. And so she was so wonderful. So highly recommend that.
Great.
Switching it around a little bit before we go into the stuff is also, for those of you out there that already know, Debra and I are writing a play called Breast Cancer Diaries. And we will, we just have a little promo book here. But the Breast Cancer Diaries is stories about women and men who have had breast cancer and the difficulties and challenges and triumphs that they've had along the way. And we are looking to you to provide us with some of that information to tell us your story. Not the whole story, just pick one. Pick one aspect of it, and then just let us know about what happened, what it was like, and so on, so that we can incorporate that into the play. The one thing that we're looking at is Breast Cancer Diaries isn't just my story and Debra's story. It's a story about us as women. It's a story about us as men who also get breast cancer, and also the fact that some of the women and some of the men are no longer here to have a voice. And so we wanted to bring their voice to you as well. And you know, breast cancer is a hard topic, but we're giving you a little bit of drama and a whole lot of comedy.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
So we're calling it our dramedy.
Yes, it should be good. And we're meeting very interesting people because of it, and hoping to meet a lot more so we can come up with some great stories and ideas.
And along those lines, we met Peggy Miller, who does the Male Breast Cancer Coalition. And so it's all for the men, being able to realize that men also get breast cancer. There's also another organization out there called HIS, and it is hisbreastcancer.org, and being able to connect with those. So we want to be conscientious of the fact that men also have breasts, and men also are getting breast cancer. So, you know, it's not just women, though we are the face of it, I would say.
But I think it's time where it's going to be the face of both,
the face of both.
Really.
Which, that reminds us, part of what we're doing for the play is that we are doing 2 different videos. We're doing a video called The Faces of Breast Cancer, which are faces of women and men who have had breast cancer. So we're looking for your pictures. So please send us a landscape, not portrait, so this way, a landscape picture of yourself, whether it's with hair, without hair, just of you if you would like to be in that video. Send us a picture of yourself. No logos on your t-shirts, please, on your shirts or your blouses. And send that to us, and then we'll be able to add you to it.
Or at least choose from those pictures.
And choose. If you have more than 1 or 2 pictures that you want to send us, maximum 3. And we will choose one of those pictures. And also, for those that would like to be in the video that we're doing that's called The Message of Hope, if you would like to do a 60-second video and send that to us, if you can put it on an MP4 format, that's wonderful. If not, we can try and take it from there. But the message of hope is just giving another woman or man a message of, being able to overcome these difficulties that we face and giving them some hope for the future. So that's what the messages are for. These messages can actually be by anyone. This can be by someone with breast cancer, or a loved one, or a friend, or if you're doing in dedication too, you can dedicate it to your mom and dad, or to your mom rather, or your dad, and being able to say, we really hope whatever, that you overcome this and you grow bigger and stronger from it.
And how many seconds or minutes?
It's 60 seconds.
It's 60 seconds.
So
it has to be camera ready or whatever.
Everything has to be done. We will edit as we see appropriate.
Right.
But what we wanted to do is put it out there. We will be having a casting call for this on April 6th.
In Staten Island.
In Staten Island.
That's important to know.
But we're also putting it out there so individuals that aren't in Staten Island, aren't in New York, aren't in the tri-state area, that they can send us their stuff via video.
Right.
And we're working with a wonderful woman, Nidia Marcellus, who is a producer, and she's going to be helping us out putting all of this together. So I'm just so excited about all of this.
Interesting, yeah. And with the photos, you said JPEG. Is it?
Yes, the JPEG photos. Make sure that everything is at least 300 DPIs, so that we have the best quality or higher quality of photos available. And again, men or women, but for the faces of breast cancer, you must have been diagnosed at some point with breast cancer. You can have more than breast cancer, but at least minimum breast cancer.
That sounds good. And speaking about males, we found out about different organizations, which was very interesting. Like you said, the His Foundation. Right,
and His Breast Cancer. We also have the MBCC, which is Male Breast Cancer Coalition.org, run by Peggy Miller and her son Brett.
Yes.
And it's the Brett Miller 1T Foundation, which I love. I love the cute, when I read his story, it says he's Brat with 1 T and he has 1 tit.
Yeah, that's how he called it.
And I thought it was so cute because a man would say that.
Right. We say breast, they say tit.
Right. And so it's cute because, his story is so unique.
It is.
On the fact that
he's the youngest male to have breast cancer so far that we've heard of.
Yeah. And it was that he was 17 and he had told the doctor, hey, I have a lump right next to my nipple. And for 7 years, they told him not to worry about it. That it was, that it was part of him growing up,
and
part of him being a man, and calcification and so on.
All the bull.
And so because he was a male, they didn't take it seriously.
Right.
And that's the sad part. They didn't take his story seriously. And here, when, and he talks, which was so sad, he talks about the fact that when he was walking to his car to go to his second job and he's in the parking lot, the doctor called him and said, oh, that lump in your breast that we biopsied? Well, it's cancer. We'll call you back in a few days to tell you more about it. And it's like, I mean, would you have done that to a woman, or is it just because he was a man? Or I mean, my pathologist was like, oh, well, I can see you have breast cancer, but can't tell you that officially till tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, there's crazy ways
it's crazy ways that you get told.
Diagnosed, definitely.
Right, which is one of the things that we're going to be covering at the play.
Well, we won't say too much. But with Brett, he was 24 when he finally was diagnosed.
26.
Oh, 26. Oh, I thought it was 24.
Yeah, 7 years later.
Oh,
well,
okay.
sorry, 7 years later. Yes, 24.
Yeah. And his mom kind of pushed him to go to more doctors to find out. And so they started this organization, and it's based out of Kansas, and they've been really good to us and kind and very informative.
Very informative. And he's 26 now. That's what we were thinking. He was 26.
All righty.
So he's 26 now, still around, still healthy.
Thank the Lord.
And the beautiful thing is that him and his family are doing so many things to help bring the fact that there is men who get breast cancer. And if you are in Oregon, or not Oregon,
Kansas.
but Orlando,
Orlando,
Florida, they are having a big conference in Orlando, Florida for men with breast cancer on the 25th through the 28th of April.
Oh.
So go to our website. We'll have more information about that as well.
So speaking of men, let's stay on the male side for a while. Okay. Let's talk about testicular cancers. More and more are being diagnosed at an early age, like in their 20s.
Right.
So what happened, this one story I read in Cure magazine, 2018. It was their bonus magazine that year. And this man woke up with a swollen testicle. And he thought it was kind of odd. And, he called his doctor. He went to his regular primary. And they felt it, and they were a little concerned, and they said, you know what, I want you to go for a sonogram. And they sent him right away. He was very lucky. Went for the sonogram. The sonogram people told him right then and there, go back to your doctor, they'll have the results. And he went back that afternoon and was told that he had testicular cancer.
Right.
And so sometimes, yes, they have to remove one testicle, but Thank God he was able to survive. If you find it at an early diagnosis is very good. So be cognitive. The same thing with the male breast cancer. How did Brett find it? He was washing himself and he felt a lump. And I've heard this story before because we met one person at our support group, a male, and he said he felt the lump and didn't think much of it, but in the back of his mind he said, this is odd, and then went to the doctors, and needless to say, it was the breast cancer.
Right.
So now I told my sons, when you take a shower, you have to
check
touch
yourself out.
Yeah, please.
Yes. And
down, under, and above.
And it's the idea, that stigma that we have about touching our bodies.
Yeah.
And it stems from so much stigma about touching our bodies and being able to notice that it's our body, it's okay to touch, and noticing that something may be off.
Right.
And the only way to know that is if you are
familiar with it, right?
If you're touching yourself, or if you're checking. And for those women or men who have had breast cancer before, after your surgery, it's a good thing to start, walking your fingers across your breast and being able to notice, is there any lumps here? Also being able to get familiar with your body, because when you've had surgery, you're going to feel that hard
you're going to have a lot of lumps
mass,
anyhow, right?
So that you can be familiar with what's up.
Right.
Because I had after my surgery and things started to heal, I have a lump in my right breast.
Because of that, right?
But it's because of one of the clips that they put into my body to stop the bleeding. And so the clip is still there, the metal clip. And so it formed a lump around it. So we have to, keep watch of it. But so whenever I do my exams, or whenever another doctor does the exam, they're like, you have a lump here. I'm like, yep, that's the clip. And so we've already checked it out and tested it and did all the studies to know that, yes, that's the clip.
Right, because even with my breast cancer, with the radiation, I had 5 days of radiation, but there's a hardness, like it feels like a round ball and it's hard, and I got scared at first, and then the doctor said, no, that happens sometimes with internal brachytherapy radiation. So so I know where that lump is, so okay, that's fine, but if you feel a lump somewhere else, yeah, you have to be cognizant of that. So that's very important for you guys out there. Next thing I'd like to talk about is the side effects of cancer treatment when it comes to your eyes. Some people, whether it's radiation, chemo, steroids, sometimes they get dry eyes. You should be aware of the things that are happening to your body now that you've had cancer. So if you have the dry eyes, sometimes your eye color changes, sometimes your eyes are tearing, or you're sensitive to light, or your vision has changed. You should see a doctor. And every year you should see an eye doctor anyhow, but during all this treatment and while you're on treatment, even if it's 5-year treatment, 10-year treatment, always get that checked. It's very important just to make sure you don't have cataracts, because steroids make cataracts sometimes, or other problems that you can get, maybe not because of the treatments,
from
but
medication,
anything.
or even just getting older.
Yeah, just life. The macular degeneration, glaucoma. These are all important facts. Don't wait too long with that. That's very important.
Right. And it's also a good thing to get a physical every year, even though you're being seen by your doctor. Because as you know, if you've had breast cancer or any other kind of illness, the doctors tend to specialize in only what they do. So your oncologist is not going to do an eye exam for you. Your oncologist or your radiologist is not going to check your ears for imbalance. So making sure that you talk to your doctors, do these referrals, get in to see the additional doctors, and go to your general doctor along the way to be able to say, hey, I have these aches and pains, or I have these other issues. One of the issues I did want to mention briefly was the ganglion toxicity. For those of you that are doing MRIs with contrast, please double check on and do your research on ganglion toxicity, because what happens is if they're using ganglion as a contrast, that's a metal that is not easily extracted from the body. Mm-hmm. So you can't rid yourself of this, and it gets trapped in your lymph nodes and so on. Oh. And the bad thing about that is that it actually mimics a lot of the symptoms that you get from the medicine, from the aromatase inhibitors, from other medications that you might be on. So you'll get the neuropathy, you'll get the, what else do we get? We get
joint
the neuropathy,
pains,
the
everything.
joint pains,
the fogginess.
The fogginess. Yeah. That can all be caused by that. Oh. And if you are being monitored very closely, like I was being monitored very closely because of my CHEK2 mutation, I was constantly getting MRIs with contrast to make sure that I didn't have any cancers floating anywhere else. Right. So in a 2-year period, I had like 6 MRIs.
Oh, I didn't realize
right.
that.
And so I had the brain MRI, the stomach MRI, the chest MRI. I had MRIs out the wazoo. And so because I was thinking, well, all of these symptoms that I was having were caused by the medicine that I was on originally for the anastrozole, which after 3 months...
breast cancer.
Right, for my breast cancer, that it just caused so many side effects. I'm thinking, these side effects are still with me a year, 2 years later, and it wasn't. It was the ganglion toxicity that's there. So trying to figure out, well, how do I detoxify now? And it's a big, long process to be able to detoxify. So we're putting it out there not to say this is what it is. It's more to say, go and do your research. Go and learn about this. Talk to your doctor about this. Be aware and be your own best advocate, so that when you're getting tests done, or you're getting treatment done, or you're being recommended certain types of treatment, do your research before you say yes.
That's true. Even with the stress test, when they do it with the thallium, you should check out, because that's intravenous too, when they're doing the stress test. So check out that information on that drug too, especially when you're on other drugs, especially cancer treatment drugs. One more thing, the endometrial cancer for menopausal women. If you have bleeding after you've been through menopause, you should really go to the gynecologist and check that out, because it could be endometrial cancer. 90% of the women that bleed and they don't go get it checked out later on get a diagnosis.
Right. And it doesn't need to necessarily be endometrial cancer. It can be endometriosis that you have that you need to talk to your doctor about, that you need to be able to be checked out. So a lot of times you will notice pain during intercourse. We don't like to talk about it, but it's there. So if you're experiencing pain during intercourse, if you're experiencing pain after intercourse, if you're experiencing pain when you work out and walking or anything else, then definitely make an appointment with your gynecologist and have them check you out. Sometimes, excuse me, sometimes it's not so much that you have cancer or that you need surgery or so on. Sometimes it can be remedied by how you eat, how you exercise, how you get healthier with your body. Because when I was going through my breast surgery back in 2016, they had diagnosed me with endometriosis and they wanted to go in and do surgery and so on and so forth. But they didn't do it because of the fact that I had that I was scheduled for the breast cancer surgery. And so we waited for 6 months. Within 6 months, because I had so dramatically changed my eating habits and my workout habits and so on, I no longer had it.
You said the juicing helped a lot.
The juicing, when I started juicing and just eating totally healthy, and I no longer ate fast food. Fast food is not good for you. Fast food is very, very bad for you. So, start making the food yourself. And so I made all my own food. I made my juices. I no longer drank soda. I no longer ate fast food. Fast food has a lot of processed stuff.
And soy,
microwave stuff. I stayed away from soy. I stayed away from wheat. I stayed away from a lot of different things. And it was being very conscientious of what I was eating and how I was exercising. And I don't mean exercising where I went into the gym and did an hour worth. I walked down the block. That's as
every
far
little
as
bit
you got
helps
me.
when you first start.
I walked down the block. I was holding on to my breast while I'm walking down the block, and I had people looking at me funny, and I'm like, hey, my breasts hurt when I walk. So I would hold on to my chest, and then I would walk a block, and then I would walk 2 blocks and 3 blocks until I was walking, a mile,
miles,
2 miles. And so doing this every day, it's being very conscientious of not only what you do with your body, but what you put into your body. And so the way I look at it is every time I cook for myself, I'm telling myself, hey, Charley, I love you.
Right.
Hey,
If
Charley,
you don't love you, who will?
Yes, I want to be around for another month. I want to
Right.
be around for another day.
Right.
And taking it that one day at a time, 1 month at a time, doing little bitty things to get you on the path. Even if it's, you don't feel like walking a block, fine. Get up, walk the hall in your house, walk the hall in your building. I did that too. After my surgery, I was too scared of walking outside because I was, I didn't know if I could make it. So I would count the doors on my floor and I would touch everybody's door. And I always knew when I got to the corner house or the corner apartment because the dog would bark at me. And so I would touch the door. It's like, okay, doggy, it's just me. And then I would
go back.
I would do it. And when I was able to do that 10 times in a row, I went outside and walked 1 block.
That's great.
So different ways to prepare yourself, different ways to make yourself healthy. And one of the things that I love, I actually heard it in one of the, because I love inspirational and business CDs. I'm a big fan of Audible books.
Right.
Because you don't always have the ability to sit there and read. And so, but when I go to my walks, I'll listen to the audibles. And so there's always information that you can get, little tidbits that will encourage you. And I just love that.
Okay.
So
that's good stuff.
So notice what you're eating, notice what you're drinking, and drinking too. It doesn't mean alcohol, it means soda. It means, juices with tons of sugar and chemicals. Having carrageenan in your food, not good. So being very conscientious. And my point was, somebody had said, this is the body, and I remember when I thought it was so hokey. It's like your body is your temple. It's like, oh, give me a break. But it is true that you need to be able to notice what's going on for yourself. So I've got music playing, which means we're out of time. So thank you for watching. I'm Dr. Charley Ferrer.
I'm Debra Santulli-Barone.
And you've been listening to Cancer Tamer. Are we doing one more?